The small apartment was quiet when Marcus got home from his late warehouse shift. It was 2 a.m., and his back ached from lifting heavy crates for 8 long hours. The winter wind howled outside, rattling the kitchen window. Marcus kicked off his heavy boots, trying not to make a sound on the creaky floorboards, and walked down the dark hallway to check on his 9-year-old son, Toby. Marcus gently pushed the bedroom door open, expecting to see Toby buried under his blankets. The soft glow from the street lamp outside shined through the window, casting long shadows. He looked at the bed, but the mattress was completely empty. The sheets were pulled tight, and the pillow was perfectly neat. Marcus panicked. A cold wave of fear rushed through his chest. He opened his mouth to call out, but then his eyes dropped to the floor. Toby was curled up on the hard, cold hardwood floor, right next to the closet door. He had no pillow and no blanket. He was just shivering in his thin pajamas, using his own bare arm as a pillow. Marcus dropped to his knees on the cold floor and shook his son's shoulder very gently. "Toby, hey buddy, wake up." Toby rubbed his eyes and sat up slowly, looking confused. "Dad, are you home already?" "Yeah, I'm home," Marcus whispered. He reached down, lifted Toby up, and placed him back onto the soft mattress, pulling the warm blankets to his chin. "Why were you sleeping on the floor, Toby? Did you have a bad dream?" Toby looked down at the sheets, twisting the fabric between his small fingers. He bit his lip and refused to look his father in the eye. "Toby, talk to me," Marcus said, sitting on the edge of the mattress. "Is something wrong with the bed?" Toby's eyes filled with big tears. He finally looked up at his dad, his voice a whisper. "I heard you talking on the phone last night, Dad. You were talking to the landlord." Marcus felt a giant lump form in his throat. He remembered that phone call. He had spent 20 minutes begging the landlord for just a few more days to pay the rent. He thought he had kept it a total secret. "I heard you say you didn't have enough money for the rent and the bills," Toby whispered, a tear running down his cheek. "And today at school, my teacher said that big spaces cost a lot more money to heat up and take care of. Our apartment is small, but when I came home, I looked around my room." Toby pointed a shaking finger toward the corner of the small bedroom. "I have a big bed. I have a big wooden toy box. I have a desk. I realized my room has the most stuff in the whole house. I thought, if I stop using the bed, maybe the mattress won't wear out. If I sleep on the floor, we don't need to wash the sheets so much, which saves water. And if I stay right by the closet, the space is smaller. I thought if I take up less space, you won't have to spend so much money heating the whole room." Toby wiped his nose with his sleeve, his shoulders shaking. "I just don't want us to get kicked out, Dad. I wanted to make my space smaller, so it costs less money for you to keep me." The reason broke Marcus's heart into 1,000 pieces. Ever since his wife had passed away 3 years ago, Marcus had sworn to protect Toby from the harsh realities of the adult world. He wanted Toby to have a stress-free childhood. To keep that promise, Marcus worked himself to the bone. He took every extra shift, skipped lunches at work, and wore shoes with holes in them, just so he could buy Toby new sneakers for school. He thought he was doing a perfect job of shielding his son, but kids are smart. Toby had picked up on every single ounce of hidden stress. And now, a 9-year-old boy was trying to shrink his own presence, shivering on a cold floor, just to save his father a few pennies. Marcus reached out, wrapped his strong arms around Toby, and pulled him tightly against his chest, letting his own tears fall into his son's hair. "Oh, Toby," Marcus choked out. "Look at me, buddy." He gently pulled back, holding Toby securely by his shoulders. "You listen to me very carefully right now," Marcus said, keeping his voice firm but tender. "Your bed does not cost extra money. The blankets do not cost extra money. And the heat in this room is going to stay on, no matter what. It is never ever your job to worry about the bills. That is an adult job, and I am the adult." Toby sniffled, wiping his eyes, and gave a soft nod. "My absolute favorite job in this world is taking care of you," Marcus said. "When I work late, I don't do it because you are a burden. I do it because I love you. You are the reason I smile in the morning. Seeing you safe in a warm bed is what gives me strength every single day." Marcus wiped the remaining tears away from Toby's cheeks. "We are a team, Toby, but I am the captain, so I handle the money math. Your only job is to go to school, play, and sleep right here on this mattress." "Deal, deal," Toby whispered, a small smile finally breaking through the sadness. Marcus stayed in Toby's room until the boy's breathing slowed down. Soon, Toby was fast asleep, snoring softly under his thick blankets. Marcus kissed his forehead and walked out, closing the door quietly. The next morning, Marcus realized that trying to completely hide the truth hadn't protected his son. Because Toby only knew half the story, his imagination had filled in the blanks with terrifying thoughts of becoming homeless. When Toby walked into the kitchen, Marcus pulled out a chair. "Come sit down with me, Toby. Let's talk about how our team works." Marcus didn't show his son the scary bills. Instead, he brought out 2 large glass jars from the pantry and set them on the table. He grabbed a marker and labeled one, "The House Team," and the other, "The Fun Fund." Then, Marcus pulled some cash and coins from his pocket. "Every time I get paid, the money goes into our team system," Marcus explained, dropping bills into the house team jar. "See this? This money is for our rent, food, and heat. It is already taken care of. We are perfectly safe." Toby watched the money drop, his eyes wide. "So we aren't going to get kicked out?" "Never," Marcus said fiercely. "Now look at this other jar. This is the Fun Fund. Whenever we have a little bit of extra money, it goes right in here. And when this jar gets full, we decide together what cool thing we want to do. Like going to the movies." Marcus handed Toby a quarter. Toby took it, smiled, and dropped it into the jar. It made a loud clink against the glass. The heavy shadow of fear that had been hanging over the young boy seemed to instantly vanish. As the weeks went by, the apartment changed completely. The tension was gone. Toby stopped looking at the mailbox with worried eyes. The glass jars sat proudly on the counter, a visual promise that everything was under control. Toby knew exactly where they stood, and that honest communication made him feel secure. One Friday evening, a few months later, Marcus finished his shift early. It was only 10 p.m. when he unlocked the front door, a rare treat. The apartment was pleasantly warm, the heater humming softly. Marcus dropped his keys on the counter next to the jars and walked down the short hallway. He gently pushed Toby's bedroom door open to check on his boy. The street lamp outside cast its soft glow across the room. Marcus looked down at the floor by the closet. It was completely empty. Then he looked up at the bed. Toby was fast asleep, completely sprawled out across the entire mattress. His arms were stretched out wide, one leg was hanging out from under the covers, and his head rested sideways on a fluffy pillow. He looked like a king, completely free of worry and totally at peace. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching the steady rise and fall of his son's chest. A warm feeling of pure relief filled his heart, washing away the exhaustion. He smiled, pulled the door closed softly, knowing they had survived the hardest part together, standing firmly in the light.